What's up guys, in this video we're going to be taking a look at the SWIT CM-55C 4K HDMI external monitor, a name that simply rolls off the tongue. Here's the box, let's open it up and take a closer look. Here we go. So, this is the monitor, and at first glance you're probably thinking the same thing as I am if I reach into my pocket, because I always carry this around apparently. It looks very similar to the SmallHD 502. Look at that side by side, pretty identical. But there is one big difference, and it is a biggie. The SWIT CM-55C costs just over £230. That's pretty much a quarter of the cost of the 502, but better yet, it's pretty much half the cost of the already popular and already good value for money SmallHD Focus. So, in this video, we're going to be taking a closer look at this monitor to see really what it can do and if it can compare to its more expensive competition. So let's jump straight into it. And if you've used a SmallHD monitor before, then guess what? It's going to feel very familiar because the whole layout and navigation of the SWIT monitor works pretty much the same as the SmallHD ones do. Now get ready for this list. We've got aspect, where you can overlay a frame guide if you're going to be finishing your video in a different aspect ratio, safe, center, and crosshatch overlays. We've got false color, of which you've even got a mode called super false color, which gives you the ability to select specific log curves so that the exposure indicators are properly calculated for the camera you're shooting with. We've got zebra, histogram, waveform, and vector scope, focus assist, peaking, and it even supports 3D LUTs, including the most simplest log to Rec 709, audio meters, and finally image scale. Now, one thing that you will notice straight away is that menu system, it doesn't look as polished as the SmallHD ones do. Now, it's still very functional, everything works, everything's sort of where it should be, it all makes sense. You control it all by this physical joystick on the side here, but it just doesn't have that sort of, pizzazz and nice and clean cut look that you get with the SmallHD. This one's got a lot of animations and things like that. This one looks a bit more retro. But to be honest, as long as it does the job, who really cares how the graphical interface looks like? Is it easy to use? Yes. Does it work? Yes. Does it look jazzy so you can show off in front of your friends? No. But hey ho, that's probably a good thing. They've got to cut the cost somewhere to make this thing so affordable. There are also various options that we can dive into for each of the monitoring tools so that we can tweak them based on our needs. For example, I can change the peaking levels and focus assist color and strength, or where and how the histogram and vector scope are displayed. And I can even upload and select between my own 3D LUTs. It is a hell of a lot of monitoring goodness for the price. So let's talk about the physicalities of this monitor. Now, with any monitor, the main feature is going to be that screen. It wouldn't be a very good external monitor if that was a secondary sort of objective to get right. So on this, you've got 5.5 inch LCD screen. It's 920 by 1080, so it's full HD, and it's rated at brightness of 450 nits. You compare that to something like the SmallHD Focus. SmallHD Focus only has a 720 or HD ready screen, if people are still saying HD ready in this day and age, but it has a brightness of 800 nits, so it is much brighter, nearly double the brightness of this monitor. But at least you've got a full HD screen on this thing, and I believe if we check the box, bingo, it does come with a sun hood straight out of the box. It's only a plastic one, but that's all you really need. And it's got these rubber bands at the end to help you attach it on. So if I just clip it on one end, let's try and make this look slick. Oh, that was pretty quick. I don't think I did too badly there. That was definitely the first take. Anyway, there you go. You've got a sun hood, so it's gonna help you shoot outside without you getting all that sun and glare on your screen, which is pretty nice. Now, of course, it isn't as bright as some of its competition, and you've always got to remember the price of this thing. There's always going to be some drawbacks. So that was the screen brightness, but the other one that I noticed, if I take the battery out, is when you pick this thing up, you realize just how light it is. And it's much lighter than this 502, for example, much lighter. And that's probably due to, not probably, it is due to it being pretty much built solely out of plastic. Still feels very solid if I try and bend it. Oh, that goes through me a bit doing that. you know, that ain't breaking. I mean, you shouldn't do this to your monitors anyway. But it still feels very solid. At the end of the day, you know, because it is plastic, I wouldn't want to be dropping this out on concrete. If you drop it on carpeted floor like in this room, then you should be okay. But moral of the story is, just please try not to drop your stuff. I mean, it's clear, brightness and the actual build of this unit is where they've tried to save the costs and ultimately make it cheaper for you guys to buy it. On the side, we've got HDMI input that supports an incoming signal of 4K, 30 frames a second. We've got an SD card slot to load in your 3D LUTs. And finally, we've got a 3.5mm audio jack output. Now, when it comes to powering this monitor, you've basically got three options. If we turn it around, on the back, it looks like there's just the one cartridge for the one battery, but actually at either end, you've got a different connector for two different types of batteries. One end, you've got a Sony NP-F battery, so it's slotting this way, and the other end, you've got a Canon LPE6 connector, which is the battery that I've got, and let's face it, most filmmakers, photographers have these batteries lying somewhere in the kit bag. But the third option is it has a micro USB port on the side. Now, because this only uses 5.5 watts, it's quite power efficient. If you need to, if you're really in a tight spot and you've run out of all the juice in your batteries, then you could hook up something like a portable battery charger, something that you'd use for your phone, plug this into this micro USB slot, and you can run the monitor from there. So let's see what else you get in the box with the SWIT monitor. Now, we've already covered the sun hood. Obviously, it's good if you're filming outside. Now, one thing I really liked about the SmallHD Focus is that it came with that L bracket, so it meant you could easily mount it on top of your camera. And since there are some similarities, the SWIT comes with one too. So let's get that attached. Now, like I said, there are two threads on the SWIT monitor, one at the top, well, not at the top, sorry, one at the bottom, one on the side. You're gonna wanna use the side one for mounting it with this L bracket. Let me just grab my camera. So I've got an A7S here. We can just slot that straight onto the camera's hot shoe. And what's quite nice is that the bracket also has a cold shoe adapter on the side there. So we're not sacrificing the only shoe available if you're not shooting with a rig. It means that I can still put a microphone or whatever other accessory I want on the side there. Now, the last thing in the box is a HDMI cable. It's only a little one, so that you don't have lots of cabling dangling from this little rig. And it's two full-size connectors at the end there. Now, one of the downsides with the Sony A7S is that it doesn't use a full-size HDMI, so I'm gonna use my own cable. The GH5S that I'm filming this with does, but this Sony doesn't. So I've just got my own here, plug that straight in, and we are getting an image. Now, there's one other thing that I want to cover that I don't actually physically have with me here because it wasn't sent to me, because it is an additional extra, and that is dummy batteries. Now, again, comparing it to the SmallHD Focus, one of the nice things was it could pass through power from the monitor to your camera using a dummy battery, and that is exactly the same scenario for the SWIT, which is great. So basically, you would buy the dummy battery for whatever camera you're using, so it'd get like a fake A7S battery that would have a cable coming out. It would then attach onto the side here into this battery out port, and then it just means that I can run the whole rig just from the one battery that is powering the monitor. And when you're filming with small cameras like this, particularly the Sony ones, those Sony batteries do run very quickly, just makes power management that bit easier. So to summarize, it's pretty hard to argue with. For the amount of monitoring tools that you get with this thing, at this sort of price point, you'd be hard pressed to beat it. Now, I know if you went online, for example, you go to Amazon, you search external monitor for video, you'll see endless lists of very cheap external monitors by brands that you've never heard of. And what I'd say to you guys is that if something like the SmallHD Focus is a bit out of your reach, then this one would be a very good alternative. It's around half the price, but you've got a lot of the same features in there. With those cheap ones that you're going to get elsewhere for unbranded, you're not going to have the reputation and reliability that SWIT are known for. Bear in mind, SWIT have been making batteries, they've been serving the creative industry for some time now, and you're most likely not going to have the ability to load in LUTs because a lot of those cheaper ones just don't have that sort of capability. You get that with this. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about the SWIT CM-55C external HDMI 4K monitor, then please do leave in the comments and I will get back to you. And if not, then make sure you hit that subscribe button and I'll see you next time.